Okay. Bob, thank you so much for coming in.
Very
I'm really glad
glad
to have you here. Would you want to introduce yourselves?
Yes. Well, actually, I've been a CISO at the U.S. Navy,
Okay.
the Navy Reserve. So, Bob Fabien Zinga. I've been in this field for more than 20 years now. So I started my career in higher ed, the University of Alabama. I was a security engineer there,
Uh-huh.
and then I moved to Monterey, California, where I worked for the Naval Postgraduate School and the Defense Language Institute.
Okay.
In the meantime, I joined the U.S. Navy Reserve as well. So I've been on active duty and reserve. So the last 10 years or so, I've been in Silicon Valley. My last job, I was the CISO at Santa Clara University.
Uh-huh.
And before that, the CISO at Jointly.
Thank you so much for your service.
A machine learning customer support automation company.
Thank you. Thank you. Interesting. So you're going to be able to bring both perspectives from the civilian and the
Yes.
military side, which is interesting. Okay. So tell me more about the kind of the challenges that you have today in the security space.
Well, it's been a challenge for a couple of years now, but I believe quantum apocalypse is really what's scaring all of us.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because as you know, with quantum computing, they're going to be able to break all of the encryption we have now. And encryption is what provides confidentiality.
Yes.
But our secret are secret because nobody can break the encryption.
Yes.
But very soon they're going to be able to just break it. And when that happens, it's going to be a significant challenge.
Yep.
So we don't know if it's going to happen all at once where, everybody can get access to all of our data all at once, or if it's going to be, it kind of reminds me of Y2K, if you remember. 1995, I know that's when I started using the internet, and they were like, oh, it's going to be the end of the world. Y2K computers won't be able to go to 2000,
Right.
1900, and there's going to be all of this catastrophe and everything. But we actually were able to go through it pretty
okay.
Yeah, it was fine. So again, I'm not sure if it's going to be similar, but at least in theory, that could be the end of confidentiality as we know it. So,
yeah, there's this theory that we were really paranoid about Y2K, and that's why it was a non-event. So
well, I don't know.
Maybe we have to be paranoid about quantum. I don't know.
But at least, based on my experience, everything I know, quantum apocalypse is a real.
It's a real thing.
Yes.
And especially pair it with what is happening with AI.
Yes.
In fact, lately we've been talking more about AI. Quantum kind of took a backstage a little bit, but I agree with you. It's a serious challenge.
Absolutely.
Right. So the nexus of quantum and AI, that could be quite scary for us.
And now my challenge with AI now is I just want to make sure all of these businesses, most of it from Silicon Valley, that we don't focus on profitability only, right? We need to think about safety, we need to think about ethics, right? And we need to think about doing the right thing, because AI in the long end could be catastrophic.
Yes.
Especially if you start using it like I am in the Navy, like military warfare and all of that. It can literally destroy the world.
Yes.
Right. So we really need,
is real.
yes. So we need leaders who are ethical and who are not just going to think about making a profit, but really using it to help better our world.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And in a way, we can use AI for good things as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's not just I understand that it can go sideways if we let it.
Yes.
But at the same time, AI can be on our side to help us not let it go sideways.
Exactly.
Right. And in fact, lately we've been talking a lot about how we use AI in other areas of the organization for other things. Super helpful.
Yes.
But at the same time, security. Right. I'm glad that this conference is about security and AI, because there are a lot of opportunities for AI in security.
Absolutely.
For example, I'm looking at our developers. They're using Copilot and everything else, and the rate that they're releasing code, I cannot keep up in the traditional way. I have to employ security.
True.
Right? So do you see that kind of a phenomenon happening in your space?
Yes. Actually, I went kind of through this about 10 years ago when I moved to Silicon Valley. Prior to that, I was working, like I say, for the U.S. government, Defense Language Institute, and the Naval Postgraduate School, where in the government, we don't use agile
development,
development, right? It is all waterfall, and it's extremely slow to develop code. Maybe once or twice a year, right? So my first job in Silicon Valley, we were developing codes like every 2 weeks. I'm like, are you guys crazy? So I really had to change my mindset, right? So try to think the way the agile developer thing, and kind of have security to kind of catch up right? So, and I think the last 10 years or so in Silicon Valley, we've done a pretty good job with that. But now when you add AI with that, it's like going turbo, right?
Yes.
And then it's kind of getting out of hand again. So it seems to me like the best way to fight AI is to use AI.
Use
right?
AI.
You
Yeah.
fight fire with fire. But the only thing I want to make sure our leadership are aware is to always make sure, I think, to add a human element too, right? Because I think without it, again, we could do something catastrophic that we may not be able to come back from. So yeah, definitely use AI, but make sure you set the parameter of how you're going to use it.
There is a human in the chain.
Organization, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that is oversight.
That is an interesting question because we are talking a lot about the AI in advisory assistant type of role, where it does the analytics, give you the answers, but you make the decisions and you pull the trigger, so to say, right? Versus the agentic AI, which we talk a lot about nowadays, agentic AI, which is more of a robotic one. Looks at the data, analyzes the data, makes a decision, and executes on that decision.
Yes.
Right? So, do you how do you think about that the economy? Where would you be comfortable deploying an agentic AI, and where you say, hold on a second, and why would you say, hold on a second?
Well, first, I think eventually the world's going to go with agentic AI. That's the direction we are.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be able to stop that.
Yeah.
But what I think we need to do is to have maybe a framework. So put some guardrails on what,
like the EU AI Act.
Yes.
Yes.
So what AI can do on its own that's been fully vetted, and we know and we trust that it's going to make the right decision. And then if it goes above the threshold, then there needs to be human intervention. That's the way I would advise it. Because what it makes me think of is I remember back in 2010, 2011, pretty much the entire world was going into the cloud, right?
Yes.
These digital transformation things.
Yeah.
I know in the Navy, we didn't want to. There was a lot of, no, we're not going to go to the cloud. We're going to keep things exactly the way they are. You can try fighting change and transformation and all of that, but eventually you can have to give up, right? Because eventually what happened is we find out, it was pretty obvious, by going to the cloud, you save a lot of money, but you can also add more security. That's a different way.
And get the better technology and all that stuff.
Yeah. So eventually we just had to say, yes, we're going to have to go with it. But in the military, we want to make sure as we deploy this new technology that we do it in the safest possible way, right? Because, unlike in the industry, in the Navy, potentially you could
people die.
Yeah. So we want to make sure we are doing it the right way for sure, because it's not about just making the next dollar or trying to be profitable, but really doing the right thing for our nation and our national security. But anyway, as it said, that's kind of how I see where agentic AI is going. Some people right now might say, no, we don't want to because it might be too risky or whatever. But eventually, I think the entire industry is going to go.
So we start something that is lower risk and kind of gradually graduate from there.
Absolutely.
If you think about it, I mean, we're comparing a lot of artificial and natural intelligence. And if I hire somebody brand new to the company, I'm not going to give them the keys to the kingdom. I want to make sure that, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They understand the environment, the culture, the way we approach this within the company, because every company has different risk culture. So kind of make sure that, okay, you're fine now. I can give you the key. And I'm not giving you all the key. I'm giving you one just to see how it goes. And then we, so it's a similar approach with the agentic AI.
Absolutely. I think it really comes down to trust, right? When you are leading people or organization, the people need to trust you as the leader to make the right decisions, right? But then you also need to trust your people to do the work that you employ them.
Right.
Yeah. I remember when I first became a manager, that was back 2004, was it? I had 2 full-time employees reporting to me, and both of them, they were female and they were about the same age as my mother. Now, I'm originally from Africa. We have filial piety. We really give great respect to the elders. So it was very difficult for me to tell them what to do at first, because I'm like, man,
the same age.
Yes, these people are old enough. They could be my mom or my aunt. But eventually, with time, I did my job and I empowered them to do their job for the organization, right? So I guess, but really my point is, yes, I think you are completely right. The people you hire, you have to trust them, you have to empower them, but they need to really be part of your culture. Whatever the risk appetite is for the organization, that's what they need to go by, and then you have to empower them to make the decision at the lowest level possible, just like we do in the Navy, so that you don't have too many gates, and then what ends up doing is you can no longer accomplish your mission because it's the one person on top who has to pretty much check on
This say for everything.
Right? So that just doesn't work.
That's actually a good segue to my next question, which is, okay, let's imagine a year from now or 2 years from now, we're pretty comfortable with assistants. We start employing the agents and we give them some small tasks just to kind of, okay, let's get comfortable, let's build trust with those things. How do you think that's going to change the organization? And again, I'm thinking, for example, from a security organization perspective. Will my security organization look the same? Are people going to do the same thing or they're going to do something different? How am I interact with the other parts of the organization, like legal, finance, development? Will that change drastically?
I think when this AI implosion started, I guess in 2021, I think is when it really got big. Back then, people used to say AI will never replace any jobs, right? It's just to enhance your job. But the reality is today, more and more jobs are being completely replaced by AI. And probably in the next couple of years, I just read an article which I put on my LinkedIn file where they were saying people like paralegal work, there is no reason to hire a paralegal. AI can do it.
Wow.
Next couple of years, that's going to be completely done. A lot of the, even software development, like junior software developer, AI can do it. Maybe you need a senior software developer to review, to do the PR, and so forth, because there's also a lot of blood, right, in the code AI is writing now, but it's going to get better. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's pretty clear now. Even now, first time I heard this, maybe it was 6 months ago. There's a company in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco. They actually fired 500 people in there.
Yes, I heard about that. Yes,
that was the first company I saw that actually replaced people with AI. Again, that's something when we just started, they said it will never happen, but it's actually happening now. Yeah. And there is another startup that just started here in San Francisco. I just connected to the founder on LinkedIn last week. His goal is to replace all of the jobs with AI. So there are some people really thinking about that now. My opinion is we still, things are going to change because change.
Technology
there is nothing we can do about stopping change. And I think if you fight change too much, you're going to become irrelevant as an organization, right? So I think you need to reinvent yourself. We need to use technology, but at the same time, I believe as a leader, right? Like in the Navy, for example, one of my leadership mantra is mission first, but people always. So I do care about my people.
Right.
So I'm not going to get rid of all of my people. What I may want to do is maybe they need to have a different job. Maybe the job you're doing now is not going to be what you're going to be doing 2, 3, 5 years from now. Maybe we need to figure out what your next job is going to be. Then I need to make sure I empower you, I train you, I give you all of the resources you need so that you get the skill, that not the skill you need now, but skills you're going to need 5 years from now in order.
How do we prepare people for that? Because to your point, you don't know. There was this good example in the beginning of the 20th century for 10 years. So there were like, I don't know how many thousands of horse-related jobs in New York City. And within 10 years, they're all gone, right? And now you have drivers, right? And nobody had thought about drivers before and mechanics for the machines and all that kind of stuff. So I guess something similar is going to happen, but how do we prepare for that transition?
Well, maybe luck has a little bit to do with it, but I think those who lead organization and department and function, you kind of have to see forward, right? Kind of
crystal ball.
Yeah, kind of envision what the future is going to be. For example, all of the AI things happening right now, really, I would say Alan Turing in some ways back in the days kind of thought about that way. He didn't really know exactly how to describe it, but pretty much everything we're experiencing now was into somebody's mind, at this back, when was that? That was right after World War II, right? So long time ago. So I think right now we may have some ideas about what the world is going to look like, even though we don't know exactly what it is going to be. We kind of get sketches of what it will be. So my recommendation is for your workforce right now to start leaning forward toward what those sketches look like. Like one simple example. When I started doing cybersecurity full time, that was in 2004 when I became a security engineer at the University of Alabama. I was already a director of IT at the time. I had about 10 people reporting to me, but I really wanted to get into cybersecurity. So I left that job. I became a full-time cybersecurity engineer. Even then, I kind of knew that this digital transformation cloud was going to become something. I wasn't 100% sure, but I kind of suspected that's where the world was going to be.
Right.
As I recall back then, we did not difference in depth. We had everything on premises. We had all of the servers,
the soft core and the hard shell. Yeah,
exactly. And then maybe 10 years later, in 2014, first job I had in Silicon Valley, I worked for my first company where the internet was our network. We didn't have anything on premise at all. Nothing. Everything was in the cloud.
In the cloud.
So, and then what that forced me to do is, okay, security principles, right? They remain the same. They do not change.
Yeah.
But the way you implement them is going to be different.
Yes.
I think that's kind of how we need to think about how AI is going to take us into the future. So, kind of follow the breadcrumbs that you have now. But then when the time comes, it is going to be very clear. Like if you go back to the example you chose about the horses, the buggies, and now they started cars. But well, what's going to happen is if you used to work in the industry where they rely on horses, you have to learn to become a mechanic or do something in the van
because people still need to move from point A to point B.
Exactly.
Right.
But I do believe the most critical skills we all need to have right now is leadership. We have to be able to lead and to influence. That's never going to change, regardless of what the technology is, regardless of what's happening right now. You're going to need to learn not only to lead your organization, but your people, and maybe adapt the mission of your organization based on the new environment we are getting into.
That is an awesome ending to our conversation. Leadership.
Yes.
Yeah, because that allows you to see in the future the sketches, not the clear future.
Yes.
We're not predicting anything.
Yes.
Right? You see the sketches, and then you start steering your organization to be in the best possible position to accept that future.
Yes. And that's why I believe every organization needs to be agile as well.
Right.
You cannot just be set in your way. This is the way we've always done it. And this is no. If you do that, you're going to be out of business completely. You're irrelevant before you know it. So you have to be flexible. But no, you do need to be fair. But I believe as a leader, really care about your people and kind of think of ways you can upscale.
Right. Because even with the AI, our best resource is going to be people.
Yes. Yeah. So, and again, for the few people now who don't like AI, don't want anything to do with it, and so I'm like, no, that is the wrong thing. Your mindset needs to be, how can I learn this technology, and then how can I get this technology, incorporate that into what I do, and try to do it better and more efficiently.
Yeah.
Or even in a ways to just allow you to do some of those manual tasks that you do that are repetitive. Let the AI do that, and you can have some pretty strict control on what
and get exposure to it to start getting used.
And then this allows you a lot of free time now to think about strategy. Right? Yes. Not being tactical, now you're thinking strategically and
and that way you provide more value to the organization.
Also, but always think about how to add value, but also how to, as a leader, as a manager, how to get the most value from your people. Exactly. Make them relevant.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bob. It was great to have you. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.